Hello, 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 and welcome to 20 Years with a Narcissist. I'm your host, Shakira, and I would like to start off with words of affirmations. You are whole, you are complete, you are enough, you are strong, you are brave, you are resilient, you are guided, you are protected, and you are safe. And this here is a safe space. This is episode 4, and this episode is titled Misconception. Misconception is a view or opinion that is incorrect because or based on faulty thinking or beliefs. An example of misconception could be thinking that nothing bad could happen to you. For example, and more appropriate or specific to this podcast, people don't think that they can get involved with a narcissist. When you're on the outside looking in and you've never been in a relationship with one of these beings, you look at there's other people's situations like, yeah, nah, that would never be me. That could never be me. And it's so easy to pass that kind of judgment when you're not in the person's shoes. With that being said, the more I talk about my podcast, the feedback that I'm gaining from people as I talk to them about narcissism, I hear, well, they always go back though, or I think some of them like the abuse. A perfect example is I recently was a guest on another podcast called Love, Lust, and Lies, and a few of the comments were, "Oh, he could have her back if he wanted to. That girl is nuts." Or, "Oh yeah, she would definitely go back, or he could definitely get her back if he wanted to." Like, one was a male, one was a female, so the gender didn't matter. Just listening to my story, it was so out of touch of what they know and what they've experienced that they couldn't believe anything but their misconception of I'm nuts and I would absolutely go back, or he could absolutely have me back if he wanted to. Now, all I could do was respect their opinions, quite honestly, because the fact of the matter is, I did exactly that for 20 whole years. I would leave him, I would pack up all of my things and leave, or I would pack up all of his things and kick him out, depending on, where we lived at the time or the circumstance. And a certain amount of time would go by, and he would be right back in my graces, right back in my good grace at that. Initially, when we would reconcile after being apart, and the longest before we were completely done was about 8 months. But even within that time, I would date other people and or entertain them on some level. And I always let the other person know, like, my heart still belongs over there. Like, I still love him. And, at some point, it was definitely a cycle. So I knew eventually we would get back, like we never left. So I didn't want to string anybody else along, knowing that 9 times out of 10, and at some point in time, I'll be back with my narc for sure, right? So once again, I had no other choice. Well, I did, but just being realistic about the situation, I respected their opinions because, like I said, that's exactly what I did. I would leave and go back, and leave and let him come back, and it was definitely a vicious cycle. So I'm like, dang, I completely understand where y'all coming from, but it's been 5 years. He's moved on. He's remarried. He has, children with this wife. It's just a whole different ball game. And then on top of that, not only have I become like so well versed on narcissism and what a relationship with one looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like, what it is, that and I know that I strongly dislike it on so many very deep levels that I would never allow myself to ever enter into another cage like that ever again in life. I don't care who it is. I do not care at all. And I can say that confidently now today in November 2025 because I did indeed get involved with two other narcissists after my original one for 20 years. Yes, believe it or not. Like two more relationships where, I told these men I loved them and everything. And they were narcissists. So, being unaware, not really knowing and fully understanding narcissism and what a narcissist looked like, I was not, you know, guarded enough to prevent myself from falling victim and or becoming a target once again. So, another viewpoint on misconception. A perfect example is the Kata Scott story. Um, I know for a fact she did not think that she would no longer be here at the tender age of 23. And even if her perpetrator, predator, you know, told her, I would kill you or I'll kidnap you. I just watched, one of the newscasters talk about how they found text messages between her and the alleged suspect King, and she said, "Come on, kidnap me again," or "Come on, kid." So they're not sure if it was a joke, if she was saying it like, "Come get me out of work so I can, not have to be here tonight," or if it was like a threat of like, "Hey, yo, I ain't like that. Don't ever do that again." Either way, just using those kind of words with another individual, one who has a reputation for stalking and doing other, I want to say inhumane, but definitely not good things to other human beings, especially women. It shows a track record that if you got to say something like that to somebody who has this kind of track record, you should be on some type of guard. You should be, hyper vigilant about protecting your life. But what we do is we reason. We reason. Even when that little voice on the inside is screaming, run. Something is not right here. This is not okay. We still reason it away and say, no, but he might be good for real. Or, I don't want to, be judgmental. I don't want to be superficial. I don't want to, come off in a certain way that may not be accurate just because I'm feeling this. And that's where we go wrong. I know for a fact if she had a second chance to come back and be like, a do-over, like she saw what happened, she died, and then she came back and ended up at the spot where the first initial threats came about, and where she just kind of waved it away or, reasoned it away rather, and just decided like, oh, it's not a big deal. Or even if she did realize it was a big deal, but she didn't put herself in a place of protection to avoid the unfortunate outcome that became her death. I'm using her as an example because, it's a very prominent story in our community right now. They are actually having a funeral for her this weekend, which I think is so beautiful. It's so wonderful. The community is going to come together, and the way that they are going to pour into her spirit and let it be known, like, sweetheart, you were loved, you did not deserve what happened to you, and to shine a light on predators like the one who took her life, and I heard it was others who were involved in helping discard of her body. We have to be aware and hyper vigilant about protecting ourselves from these type of beings. So it starts with that gut feeling that says something is wrong here. And a perfect example is, using dark humor or sarcasm to reason it away. I read a book called The Narcissist Playbook by Dana Morningstar. And she specifically speaks about how, we choose to not go with our gut feeling, and we, just reason it away. And an example was, like, say you're walking down the street and you feel like somebody's walking behind you. You actually hear footsteps, but you almost are scared to turn around to verify what you're hearing and feeling. Like, hold up, somebody behind me. So you walk faster though, because something in you, it says, okay, let's just make sure. So you start walking faster, and the footsteps behind you get faster as well. And yet you still don't turn around to assess the situation to see whether or not it's safe. Am I safe, or is my life possibly in danger? And then you end up getting kidnapped, raped, or something very bad happens to you because you reasoned away and said, nah, nobody's behind me. And even if they are, they're not coming for me. They're not coming behind me. I have nothing to worry about. I'm fine. That is a misconception. You turn around and you look and you assess the situation. If you see somebody who seems to start to walk faster towards you, once they saw you turned around and saw them, you run for the hills. You start screaming for their life and hope to God that somebody hears you and can help you. Now, the society that we live in today, I'm not sure how likely that even is anymore, quite honestly. Most people have become, equipped to just ignoring those type of sounds. Oh, somebody's screaming. Oh, I wonder what's going on. They usually chalk it up to some kind of domestic violence, which usually is probably a relationship with some kind of narcissist or sociopath or psychopath. And 9 times out of 10, that target's life is in danger. But there are so many circumstances or stories that you hear where, people do intervene and try to help and save the victim or the target, and they end up getting hurt themselves, or the target, they do successfully save them or help them, but then the target ends up right back with the perpetrator or the narcissist. And, it becomes this, what was the point? Like, why did I help you? Like, you did, it was like, why did I even, interject or input myself into your situation if you were just going to go right back to the situation anyway? So that's a lot of what I hear. Well, they just keep going back. They're dumb. They're stupid. Like, I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. There's no way. There's no way I would ever. Because if you think for half of a second that any victim or target of a narcissist or worse likes, enjoys, or wants to be beaten, disrespected, verbally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually abused by someone that they feel like they love with their entire being, you are very sadly mistaken. That is 100% a misconception, because that is not the case at all. Okay? In my situation, being so young when I entered into the relationship with my narcissist. And of course, I was 14 at first when we first met. A few months later, I turned 15. And that's kind of the dating age, if you will, when you start to like a boy and or a girl, and you're like, okay, hormones are raging, you get excited about, somebody that you're attracted to or interested in. And that's all that transpired. If you go back and watch my first episode on how I met my narcissist, you'll see that initially I was hesitant. I was like, no, 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 gon' get, I'm good. But the narcissist was very persistent, like all of them are. When they see what they want, they get it, and they're going to do everything in their power to get you. If you're strong-willed enough, if you are grounded enough, especially spiritually, then you may not fall victim to the narcissist. You may escape, their intentions on getting you in their web, if you will. And but if not, if you like the rest of us, and as persistent and determined as they are, you can and will, fall for the okey doke. You will get caught up. And for me, like I said, with me being so young, and then my dad was against it, but my mom, she was like, come on, she's at that age, if we don't let her do it where we can monitor it, then she's just going to go and do it behind our backs. And her having been a teenager and experienced that growing up as a child, she could 100% relate and knew from experience that that was a fact. So even though I was allowed to, date him, or he was allowed to come to my home, and we hung out and everything like that, I still found myself sneaking to his house when his mom was at work, and when we hooking in from school and going to his friend's house, and I, like I said, I was a virgin in the beginning, so at first it was like we would hooky and we would go to his house and all that, but I wasn't letting nothing happen. It was like, oh, no, no, no. she's not ready for that. But eventually I was, and once I was ready, I did go to my mom and say, hey, I'm ready. I want to go get, and I went and got on the birth control, and I got the condoms, and I did it I'm gonna say in an appropriate way to protect myself. Now here I am protecting myself from pregnancy and STDs, but not realizing I had to protect my heart and my soul from this being that was about to penetrate me in a way that was going to tangle me in, like when they say soul tied, that literally it feels like a tie. Like you literally wrap around their soul and pull it, like, and make a knot. Like that's how hard it is to detangle from a narcissist. Like I need y'all to understand that it is not like, why she keep going back to him? What's wrong with her? Like, are you crazy? Like, I tell you, my dad set me down 100. Like, he just was like, over, like, baby, please. The way he would beg and plead with me and try to help me understand that this boy is no good. Okay? He is going to keep disrespecting you and mistreating you and doing you dirty. I see him from him. I see through him. I know him because I was him or I am him. I'm still a man, as my dad would say. I know what they want. I know how they act. I know how they are. And I just didn't understand. And even if I did consciously and intellectually understand what he was saying, my heart just could not allow me to absorb what the mind was obtaining from not only my father, but other family members and other people who just loved and cared about me. Like, yo, you deserve better. Get away. And like I said, within our cycles, when he would bring me back an STD or have a baby on me or cheat on me, I had no problem leaving. I had no problem, like I said, packing my stuff up and leaving, or packing him up and making him leave. It was the, as they call it, hoovering that he would do to suck me back in, hence the word hoover, like a vacuum, to suck me back into his web of deception. I was his main source of supply. I fed his ego like no other. So yes, he would skate off and, go be in somebody else's space, but it would be so temporary and so short lived. And, you know, they I don't want to say I'm cocky or nothing, but they didn't compare to me when it came to how I poured into him and fed him the source of narcissistic supply that he needs in order to stay relevant, in order to not feel the guilt and the shame that lived within him, and not have it on blast and on Front Street. I'm going to boost your ego. I'm going to make you feel like you're a king. I'm going to make you feel like you're everything to me and that you're everything in general. And who would not want to keep running back to that? So, that's why it became a cycle. So soon as whoever else he was with would get on his nerves, or that's pretty much it. Would get on his nerves, start acting in a way he didn't like. That if he lost respect for him for whatever reason, that would be more than enough for them to be like, okay, I'm gonna head out, because he always knew he could head back to Shakira. Here I come, girl. Here I come. And it's just so unfortunate, to not, when you're not knowledgeable, when you don't know better, it's extremely difficult to not allow somebody that have been loving for however long, that you feel like you've invested into for whatever length of time, to not let them back in. Especially once you create a different bond, like having children with them. Once children come into play, it changes the game. Because for me, I didn't like the idea of being a stereotype. I am not about to be one of these girls out here talking about my baby dad. I hate my baby dad. I can't stand him. I gotta take that nigga to child support. What? I'll forget him. What? Like, why? So if he wasn't good enough to have a baby with, like, why would you? You're gonna open your legs up and lay with somebody that, if you were to get pregnant with, is not good enough to have a family with, to have this child and raise together with? No. So, before I got pregnant with our first child, being as though one of his caregivers exited out of his life when he was at a very young age, he had a very nasty disposition towards fathers who left their kids. Like, why would you ever leave your child? Like, he was literally disgusted by these human beings that would leave their children high and dry. Like, that is not right. It is not okay. He can't stand them. So of course I felt like, oh, I can definitely have a child with him. He's going to be there for his kids. If I don't got to worry about nothing else, I know the way he speak about men who leave their kids and not take care of their kids, I know for a fact he going to take care of ours. And I wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong about that fact. My narc loves his children. Now, has there been times of hiatus where he wasn't as present in their lives? Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when he got mad, because I kicked him out, or I was done with him, or, however the exit between us transpired, depending on how that was, it kind of dictated, his presence in the kids' lives. But even if he was more distant than not, that would be short-lived. He would find his way right on back, like, all right, let me get my babies. Like, when can I come over? Can I see him? Like, however, he's going to find a way. Like, one time I moved to Florida. I straight packed up and got right on up out of here. And he packed up everything and came right on with me. But I don't want to jump the gun. I believe we left off with my story with my narc. After we got married, we got married into January 2008. By March, no, no, it was I want to say 3 months after we got married, but no, I believe it was that summer. That's when his other baby mom came out the woodworks and gladly told me that they were still messing around with each other. If you watch one of my previous episodes, you see me talk about her and the letter that he wrote to me about, having a baby on me and how I cried for days and I was devastated. He was in a halfway house, and we were both coming up there, you bringing him toiletries and seeing him and loving up on him. So he was just the man, in this halfway house. He was on the streets. He got caught up. He got locked up, and he gave him an option of the halfway house or jail for a year. So he chose the halfway house for 3 months. He was over there, and I think this was 2006, 2007, and I was going back and forth and seeing him. So when he got out of there, even after the letter and finding out about the baby and all the things, he came back to my house. He came and moved in with me and my mom. So, somehow we still ended up getting married because in 2008 because he was not an official citizen of the United States of America. He was not born here, and his caregiver asked me if I could marry him. Like, you already have a child with him, it just makes sense. But if you leave it up to the narc, he had options. He ain't need me to be the one to marry him. And I guess that's why he chose not to get a haircut to, once we did go get married. Because, girl, he probably didn't even want it to be me. I mean, it was, at the moment, it was probably somebody else that had his attention that he would have preferred to marry. But his mom, caregiver, decided, listen, this is what's best. Let her do it. So, boom, here we are married. It just was like, wow, we didn't even make it maybe 6 months in before you cheated on me and brought somebody in our home because his caregiver ended up paying for us to stay in our apartment that we were staying in for the first 6 months. She said she would pay for the first 6 months, and that's what she did. So, and here you are sleeping with somebody else in our crib, and it's just like, how disrespectful is that, and when she came to, I don't know, confront or approach me about the situation, it was in a way that, I'm mad that he's discarding me, because what happened was he now does not want her anymore. They were sleeping with each other, and that was all good until it wasn't. And once he decided, okay, I don't want to sleep with you anymore, she decided to put it all on blast. Oh, remember when you was calling him on the 4th of July? Yeah, he was in the bed next to me. Oh, was he now? You know what I'm saying? So, okay, well, let's go confront him together about this. Nope, this is 2008. We done got married in January. So now I wanted to punch the girl in the face, but I've always been the type to, like, not blame the female. Like, I'm not about to want to fight you or come for you, because at the end of the day, you really don't owe me nothing. It's him that owes me something. So I'm coming for him. And I know for a fact he's going to lie to me about it. So I'm going to take you with me. So come on. She had a vehicle at the time. I didn't. Let's go holler at him. Hop in the car. We get to, our apartment. And I said, hey, I'm going to go in first. I'm going to leave the doors unlocked. Be right behind me. You know what I mean? Give me like 2 minutes. Just be right behind me. I go in. He was in there with one of his friends. I said, hey, can you meet me in the bedroom? Let me talk to you in the bedroom for a minute. Comes in the bedroom. And I kind of shut the door a little bit, and I'm like, so what's up with you and so and so? And he like, what you mean? I said, y'all still sleeping with each other? He was like, what? No, what you talking about? What you mean? And she knocks on the door. I open the door up, and I'm like, so y'all not still messing with each other? He said, he still tried to deny it, and for whatever reason, all I cared about was whether or not he loved her. Do you love her? Do you love her? Because y'all still messing with each other, y'all done had a baby with each other, so it would actually make sense if you did. But if you do, I'm going forever. You know what I mean? But either answer you give me, yes or no, you about to catch these hands. So he said, man, F no, I don't love that bitch. Oh no? And I just stole him. Mad, and just started welling on him. He like, yo, stop hitting me, stop hitting me, stop hitting me. Because at that time, he would never hit me back. He never hit me back. I used to hit on him all the daggone time because he got on my nerves. He would be so nonchalant when I would ask him questions and, where was you at last night? Why you got in so late? Who's this video of this girl you having sex with in your phone? And he would just sit there and not answer me, sitting there brushing his teeth, like, huh? What you talking about? I was a little fighter. I was definitely one of them. And I still put my hands on him, and he would never hit me back. One time, he act like he was about to try to choke me or something, and I saw him literally pull his hand back, like, oh snap, it's her. Like, it's Shakira, like, nah, I can't do that to her. That's my baby. So that probably fueled me even more to always want to hit on him, because I knew, like, he ain't gonna hit me back. And plus, like, I know a part of him knew he deserved it. Like, you just got finished cheating on me. You just got finished doing me dirty. So catch these hands and chalk it. Like, I'm going to chalk the fact that you just cheated on me. I'm going to chalk the fact that you just bought me another STD. I'm going to chalk the fact, like, you know what I mean? If I got to chalk all these things, you going to chalk them too. That's what we going to do with that. You know what I mean? First STD, you laugh, oh, at least it's something you can get rid of. The second time, it's like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you don't respect me at all. And then you just gaslight me and manipulate me into, believing like, nah, it ain't even like that. I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. And then the third time, I'm like, nah, something wrong with you. Well, you need help. And then you want to talk about committing suicide. Oh, I might as well just kill myself then, because what's the point? You know what I mean? Don't nobody love me. Don't nobody care about me. Why am I here? Oh, okay, no, we going to head on over to therapy. But after we beat him up, I was swinging on him and he let me hit him. She's now crying like, oh my gosh, you was eating my coochie, you was eating my booty, and now I'm nauseous. Now I'm gagging. What? I go to run in the bathroom and Earl, he banging on the door. I'm sorry, please forgive me. She throwing his PlayStation down steps. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you don't love me? You don't care about me? Oh, all right, watch this. You got me messed up. Like, and next thing you know, he choking her up. I got to come out the bathroom and save her, because at the end of the day, I brought her to the house, so I can't let him, hurt her. I'm probably be considered an accomplice. I'm going down with the fool. So no, we not having that. Shorty, come on, get on up out of here. And I just left, and I didn't stay. I didn't answer his calls for a month or so even. But eventually, I just kept opening the door back up. Me and that baby mom ended up trying to allow our kids to grow up with each other. And every time I would get with this girl, all she wanted to talk about was him. That's all she cared about was him. Like, oh my God, how I'm supposed to stop loving him, what I'm gonna do. And then once she knew we were married, which made her sick to her stomach, she kept asking, well, when y'all gonna get divorced? Like, y'all gonna get divorced though? Like, every time I encountered her. So did you like file for the divorce yet? So like almost as if she wanted to get me out the way so she could slide back in. So not only did I peep that, when I would take my son to her house, he would cry the entire time. And no, my child was such a good kid. He did not cry. He was not a crier. Not a crier at all, okay? So it just didn't make sense to me. And it just was like, nah, there's some, there's some bad energy here. There's something like your intentions are not good. Like kids have a sixth sense and they know like dogs when they start whining because they can sense danger. Kids can pick up on negative energy and intentions and know that you don't mean me well, or you don't mean my mom well in this case. Like I want out of here. And I finally took heed to that, and then the icing on the cake was she was like overbearing. Like she would call me all the time, like just be on my line, text me, calling me, text me, calling me. I'm in school and I work. Like I cannot entertain conversations with you all day long, sis. Like I'm gonna need you to chill. You know what I mean? And she wasn't trying to hear that, so I had to let her go. I guess that's what he ended up doing. She was probably overbearing with him too, and it's almost like I was able to step in his shoes for a half a second to see what type of person she was and why it was, like, oh my goodness, I gotta get her out of here. Like she got to go. Because that's how I felt. She was out of here. So she ended up, acting a whole fool about it. Oh, that's what you wanted all along. I don't care if you da 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 da. And this was probably the end of '08, because by January I was pregnant by the man again. Like I ended up, now I cut her off, and it's like, look, you gonna take care of this boy. I ain't signed up to be nobody's single mom. You're going to take care of this child. You know what I mean? You should be taking care of both of your kids, but this one right here, you're going to take care of. I wasn't having it no other way. So just, reconnecting on that level and him being in his child's life, it was like, okay, it's been a minute. You're like, my first love. I ain't gonna say he was my one and only at that time. I might have slept with one or two other people once or twice. It was very I was very reserved. I was not giving her up to any and everybody, but even the people that I did end up sleeping with was out of spite because he was living with another girl. Like he was over here entertaining somebody else. It's like, why am I sitting here being such a good girl when he's over here doing whatever the heck he wants? Well, I'm gonna do what I want too, but I ain't like it. That's not me. It's not how I am. I'm a one woman girl and a one man woman, and I just want that person. I don't need nobody else. You know what I mean? I don't want nobody else. So, um, started sleeping with him again, got pregnant by January, and knew I had started nursing school August of '08 before I moved out after everything had hit the fan. So it was like, I definitely need to get away from him so I can focus on school. So I did end up going back to the apartment, and I packed up all my things and I moved to my grandma's house, and I went to nursing school from there. I ended up, but I had a car, and I think my license was suspended by then, and I wanted to get my license back, and the only way to really do that was to not be driving and keep getting pulled over and getting another year added on. So he would be the one to drive me to and from school. No, I'm pregnant. I'm getting bigger by the day, by the month, and it just worked out for him to be my chauffeur. So he would drop me off and then have my vehicle and just be running the streets while, I was in school, but he'd come back, pick me up, blah, blah, blah. Now, initially, I was mad about it. I was a little rebellious, like, no, it's my car. I paid for it. You can't tell me I can't drive my own car. Like, are you serious? Not realizing that, it was helping me out in the long run, because now I was able to serve, my time for my suspension, and I got my license back. And that was '08. I ain't get it back till about 2012, but I got it back. And once I got that job back, though, I treated it like gold. And you cannot ever have it back again, okay? So, yes, I went to nursing school. I got pregnant. I made it. I was pregnant throughout the whole length of the, nursing school. I had my daughter at the end of September, and I went right back because I graduated the end of October. Graduated, got my license in December, started working as a nurse February 2010. And then I will pick up the story in the next episode from there. I'd like to thank you all so very much for joining me in this episode. Don't be confused about having a misconception that, targets of narcissists want to be abused. We want to be loved. And unfortunately, we end up in this Beauty and the Beast mindset where we think that, one day he's going to turn back into the prince and he's going to love me the way that I love him or her. And, life is just going to be great. And it's so unfortunate because 99.9% of the time that is not going to be the case at all. Okay? Give these targets of narcissists a break. Give them some grace. Understand that the pain and the abuse is not what they want. And those who are with malignant narcissists that physically abuse them are literally afraid. They are in fear for their lives. So keep watching so I can keep informing you about how to navigate through these relationships, and how I navigated through mine. Until next time, remember, you are guided, you are protected, and you are safe.